going into stream. I'm in Facebook. Save and close. Now I'm hitting live stream.
Band of Oz was playing in Kenley tonight at the truck stop.
Hey everybody, my name is Tom Jones Pharmacist, and you are on Tom Jones Pharmacist Live. Hey, we're going to talk about Eli Lilly tonight, and I know we're on 2 streams, and we actually may be on the 3rd stream. So, hey, if you're seeing us for the first time, how are you tonight? And I want to talk about some of the things that we really don't talk about much. And we're going to talk about diabetics. How many of you know a diabetic? How many of you know that diabetes is one of the toughest diseases out there to actually treat, and it's one of the most devastating diseases that you can actually ever have? So, we're going to talk about one of the pharmaceutical companies tonight, and I really haven't, this is my first talking about a drug company. I normally don't talk, I normally have some criticism about them because as a compounding pharmacist, we have a lot of interaction with pharmaceutical companies. And it's kind of, pharmaceutical companies can be good, and they can also not be so good because some of the drugs are really expensive. But let's talk about the part of the drug world. Lilly's heritage in diabetes spans from the first commercial release of insulin way back yonder in 1923. And this has actually been a tremendous discovery. So over 90 years, Lilly has actually had pharmaceutical drugs on the market. And that's pretty pharmaceutical drugs that relate to diabetes on the market is what I meant to say. And that's pretty amazing because if you want to talk about diabetes, the worst disease that you can have in your body forever is diabetes, because it doesn't usually get better, it gets worse. And it causes eye problems, it causes cardiovascular problems, it causes kidney problems, and it causes circulatory or feet problems. And that's bad news. That is really bad news for the individuals out there, because if you have a disease that doesn't get better and you go blind, or if your heart gives out, or if your kidneys give out, or if you have to have amputations, how much worse can you get? You're alive, but you actually suffer tremendously. So diabetes is a absolute killer of a disease. So Lilly in 1923 developed that insulin. It had the first commercial release of insulin in the United States, probably the world too. So here we go with a company that actually put us on the map as far as helping people with the worst disease that you could ever possibly have in your lifetime. So that's kind of where Lilly came into play. So they developed these manufactured pharmaceutical products because before this period of time, you had to make your medicine. You had to be a compounding pharmacist. It just wasn't going to be without you being a compounding pharmacist, because medications were not prepared by a drug company. So, and Lilly developed medicines that would be dispensed at the recommendations of physicians prescribing them and pharmacists filling those prescriptions. Think about it. Before pharmaceutical companies were actually in existence, you had herbs and drugs and all sorts of different things, but they had to be compounded in the laboratory, which is the pharmacy. So this actually opened up a whole new, completely innovative industry. And there was a chemist that actually came on board with Eli Lilly because he was hired by the president of Lilly, who was Mr. Lilly. And he eventually did all research efforts for Lilly. Now, let's talk about insulin, because insulin was something that absolutely changed people's lives. Diabetes was such a debilitating and fatal disease with no treatment, period. I mean, it just wasn't going to have good outcomes because you just died. And with the advent of insulin, then with injections from the insulin, the pancreas was able to prolong the life of people. And this really moved Lilly to the forefront. And Lilly has actually, I'm going to give Lilly a 5-star because they are still an independent company. They're not owned by somebody big somewhere else in the world. Because most pharmaceutical companies now, I don't know if you realize this or not, most pharmaceutical companies now are big conglomerate companies. They're not owned the way they were many years ago. Certainly not 20 years ago, not 50 years ago, and 90 years ago is a long time. So we have seen the advent of consolidation of the pharmaceutical companies tremendously in the last 25, 30, 35 years, so that now there really are not that many pharmaceutical companies out there. There may be smaller versions and generic houses, but in fact, a lot of the generic houses just aren't out there now either because they've been bought out. So there's been a major consolidation as far as the drug industry in America for sure. And again, we have to really give it to Lilly. They are the company that they were way back in the 1920s. So the commercial release of insulin really marked a moment in history, and for Lilly, it gave them something that they have actually done well with for the last 90 years. They are still, right today, one of the 2 innovative companies as far as diabetes, period. In fact, I don't know if they are number 1, but if they're not number 1, they're very, very close to number 1 as far as diabetes and treatments. Everything's changed. The drugs out have differed now, but in fact there's a pharmaceutical by the name of Trulicity. That's a Eli Lilly drug. It's a once a week injection that people use. It's not a first line choice, but it is for people with non-controlled diabetes. You have to check with your doctor. All of these are prescription drugs, by the way. And then they have come out with Basgalar. This is very similar to Lantus, and of course, the Lantus and Basgalar, Basaglar. This is a daily insulin first line attack for insulin. It's an injection. This one is a once a week, which is really, really interesting. They both have different actions on the body, and we'll go into that probably in a later show, not tonight. But insulin has evolved. Diabetes has evolved. But the one thing that you really want to think about now is, why do people get diabetes? Why? If type 1 diabetes is the one that you're born with, then how do people come down with type 2 diabetes? But let's go back to Lilly, since we're talking about Lilly right now. Lilly's commitment to diabetics is to give a diverse portfolio of all the treatments, resources, and support. So, in fact, I'm holding in my hand a little, this is a chart that will allow you to keep your diabetic shots, foods, everything related to how you eat, what your glucose level is before and after you eat, and when you take your diabetic medication, how you respond to that medication. So you keep a diary of everything about your body. And if you don't do this, you're playing Russian roulette with your body. So you need, if you're a diabetic, you need to have one of these, and Lilly actually provides those, by the way. So again, why are we having in America a revolution of diabetics, type 2 diabetics? Well, first thing is, we are not in control of our lives, because one of the most significant factors as far as diabetes is keeping your body in balance as far as weight and your food intake and your insulin levels. And if you don't do that, you're going to be in very deep trouble, because again, there's no disease that more people have than diabetes that out of control will ruin your life. You will absolutely be devastated with problems later on in life if you allow your body to not be corrected as far as blood sugar levels. And it really depends on taking control of yourself. Taking control of yourself, eating the right foods, eating at the right time, and making sure you keep your weight under control, have your exercise at an optimal level, and a balance in your life of all the different factors, keeping stress under control, keeping the intake of food under control, and just making sure that you take care of yourself. When the word diabetes is spoken by your physician or PA or by your nurse practitioner, you definitely have to take heed. And if you let your body get out of control and the A1C goes up and the glucose levels goes up, and you do not get your exercise and you do not eat the right foods, and you assume that that medicine that you're putting, that pill or an injection in your body, is going to take care of everything, you're dead wrong, because it doesn't. You have to be in charge. When you take care of your body, you will do better. And we're so thankful that there are drug companies like Eli Lilly who do look after us, and their medications may be fairly expensive, but you know what? If you don't have the medications back before 1923, you were doomed. You were doomed. And now we have the opportunity to have a better life. A better life because of companies like Eli Lilly, who have taken the commitment for over 90 years to go after the best drugs that they possibly can come up with and bring them to the market. And we are so thankful that Eli Lilly is still out there working hard for us. And I'm going to end on that good note, because we always want to have the best for ourselves and for our bodies. But you need to take care of yourself in the process. My name is Tom Jones, Pharmacist. This has been a special edition of Tom Jones Pharmacist Live. And tonight we were on Facebook,